Hello friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel. We are on layout number 3 for my latest scrap series, and if you have not seen the other 2 videos, basically I am working with scraps of paper, but this time I'm adding the theme of grid lines with my layouts. So with this one, I wanted to do kind of a 2-inch square type of grid, and I was showing you earlier that I have a old Creative Memories punch, and it punches 2 size of squares, and I believe this one is I want to say 1.5 inch squares. And I also cut 1/2 inch strips of this gold and white paper, and that's going to be the element that will help me create my grids. So I'm working with a single 4x6 photo here, and I am mostly a multi-photo scrapper, but sometimes there is just a single photo, but I still want to tell the story, and so that's why I have this one photo here. This photo is a picture of a house that my sister in Virginia is renting at the moment, and the reason why I took this photo is because I'm also fascinated with history, and this house, as you can tell, is a little bit older. It was built in the early 1900s, and it's just, I don't know, I just thought that it was kind of cool to be staying there and kind of live. I was staying there, and then she was living in a kind of a museum, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm just building all of my squares around the photo. And the neat thing about this specific design is that, as you can see, I have some elements like my photo and my journaling that are not exactly square, but because of the grid lines, I'm able to kind of manipulate it where it would still fit within those blocks or those grids that I've created. Initially, I was just gonna go with a craft cardstock as my background, but my comfort zone, or what's pleasing in my eye, is always that I have this really thin border all around my background page, and so I have to put a white cardstock behind this. So I did trim that. I did trim the craft cardstock about 1/4 inch on all sides, or maybe 1/8 of an inch on all sides, so that it will leave a white border all around, and that's just pleasing for my eye. I like that my page, because of the frame, it grounds my layout, and so I like that. I mean, I'm sure that I could get away without having to have that white background, but sometimes when you get used to a comfort zone, and that's kind of what my eye is looking for at the moment. So anyways, now I've kind of seen what I wanted to do with this page and envisioned my design, and so I'm going to go for it and start adhering things. I didn't trim these strips right away because I wanted one of the strip to be in an angle, and I didn't know the size that I wanted them to be and where they're gonna go, so I just cut them into strips, and then I will trim it as I go. And then I'm adding my blocks, just kind of eyeballing it. I'm sure if I make it precise that they will all look even, but I just don't have time for that and patience for that, so I'm just eyeballing it. And so I'm moving things around, as you can see, to make sure that they're perfectly, or not perfectly, but at least a little bit centered with the within those blocks that I'm creating. So like I said, I am using a lot of scraps because my scrap folder was getting really thick, and so I needed to kind of tackle that. And over the years, I've been the kind of person that likes to save little bits and pieces of paper, but lately I'm noticing that, paper really, they're only, maybe the most will be $1 for 12 by 12 piece, so I shouldn't be too afraid of cutting them and throwing them away when there's only little bits and pieces. So I think that's what I'm going to do from now on with my scraps, is really kind of evaluate. I mean, if there are big pieces that I know I can work into another or a few more layouts or cards, then I will definitely save them. But for the most part, I think I need to just start throwing papers away, because I'm just basically just keeping them for future use, and it just takes forever for me to be able to use them all up. So I had punched out the squares before I started the video, and I punched out, I would say, like maybe 3 or 4 of each of the designs, and so I'm trying to kind of spread them around, making sure that a design is not, one design, specific design is not close together, so that's why I'm spreading them apart. And I also have these flowers from a pattern paper that I fussy cut, and I'm going to use that as an accent. Now originally I wanted to put my title on the top left side of my page, but the word awesome was just too wide for that space that I have, and so I ended up having it go vertical on the left side of my page. And I don't normally do that, so that was kind of outside of my comfort zone as well, but I like the look of it. It's different from what I've always done, and I think sometimes we just need to try out new things and see if we like something. And I think that's the beauty of scrapbooking, is we try something out, and if we figured out we don't like it, we can just remember it for the next page. But you know, there's no, it wouldn't, it's not how do I say it? Like, it's not totally devastating if we mess up with one layout versus, you know, other crafts like maybe sewing, especially if you're making clothes. If you do something wrong with it, you will end up not having a perfect apparel or clothing to wear. But as far as scrapbooking, you know, you make a mess here and there, it's okay, live and learn, and then you move on. So going back to the layout, this was pretty easy once I had a vision in mind, and it worked out well, and I'm just basically adhering everything else. I did decide for this one particular one to bump it up a little bit to add some dimension to the page, and then I think I'm going to finish it off with some more of the black rhinestone that it seems like I've been using for all of these layouts. When I do these series, I tend to plan them out and then kind of break the process down into chunks. And so I would plan all of them out, and then I would make all the process videos out, and then I would do the voiceovers. So I don't do them like one page, one voiceover, one, you know, stuff like that. It was just, for me, it works better for my schedule to do them in these kinds of block type of creating them. And so going back to the rhinestones, because I do create them all at the same time, I have some stuff that was just sitting on my table, so it would look like I am kind of reusing the same things over and over again with these batch of layouts, which is not bad at all, because I don't scrapbook chronologically, and so even if I use all these same papers, they wouldn't be all in the same kind of part in my scrapbook album, so I don't really mind that at all. So those are my finishing touches, and that is my layout. If you guys have any questions, make sure that you leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you guys on layout number 4. Bye guys.